Hi everyone, welcome to another video and being able to share with me some of the wonderful pieces that I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with and handle and catalog and kind of be in their presence for the short time that they're here before they travel to their new homes, hopefully with you. I wanted to do something different this time. We have had the fortunate luck of having an incredible collection of antique doll furniture come to us to be placed in our end of October auction, along with, of course, all of the beautiful other French and German dolls that you come to expect. So we're going to today, instead of focusing on the dolls, I'm going to focus on the furniture, and I'm going to kind of step back from here, and the camera's going to keep sweeping the furniture, and you look at the pieces. We've included a couple of dolls in the layout, just simply so you can see the size of the doll that would more appropriately fit with any furniture if you were thinking of doing vignettes. Because remember, that's what it was all about originally, was not just doll after doll after doll in a cabinet, but a doll in an environment, in a little vignette, in a lifelike room. And maybe that's what you'll decide you want to achieve after you see some of this furniture. Tell me, I want to tell you, you don't find this kind of furniture anymore. I was kind of blown away when I started unpacking it and saw the quality of this. It's just extraordinary. So let me move over here now and you keep watching. When people think of the doll industry in France in the 1860s and 70s, they think about the dolls, and that's what they immediately go to. The discussion of would be the dolls. But I think that there's not an understanding of exactly how much actual attention and time and commitment went into the production and the presentation of the wonderful pieces of miniature furniture that could be seen with a doll. As I read once in a book, literally any furniture that could be made for an adult was also made for a doll, because the notion was to have children be able to recreate in their fantasy a beautiful home for their doll. This is Leo Clarete, in his book Les Jouets, wrote this about the doll industry at that time. I'm quoting him now. This is the kind of selection that would have been available. A bedchamber suite in Louis XV doré or wood, according to the means and generosity of the donor, I guess what you could afford, with chairs, tables, dresser, carpet, draperies, a clock in zinc doré to ornament a fireplace. The salon, which is preserved and is a small marvel with gilded consoles, iron bibelots, armchairs, Louis XV cushions, candelabras, étagères, all in the current taste, according to the aesthetic in vogue. It's extraordinary, the amount. Historical accounts mention other doll furnishings, such as the marquetry commode, a drop-front secretary decorated with bronze mounts. You're seeing all of those pieces here as we sweep the scene. The draperies of toile de jouet, cast iron fireplace, embroidery frame, and stoves of Saxony porcelain. And here we're seeing other furniture of Saxony porcelain with hand-painted scenes. That is really quite remarkable and extremely rare. In 1880, the Journal des Demoiselles published an article about the doll furniture that then was being presented in the 1878 Paris Universal Exposition. And I'm quoting what they said now. There was a dining room in old sculptured oak, of which the pieces could have been placed in a museum. A bedchamber with lemon wood decorations, which was a glorious marvel. And finally, a salon with chandelier and piano in the style of Louis XV, and a sculpted fireplace mantel in the taste of the times, surmounted by a Boulez pendulum clock. This was doll furniture presented at the 1878 Paris Exposition, not people furniture, doll furniture, and that's how it was described. As early as 1852, this was 1878, but even 25 years earlier than that, an article in the magazine Picturesque declared that an entire industry had developed in the 16th and 18th arrondissements of Paris that specialized in miniature furniture. Originally, the furniture was created in the workshops of full-size furniture makers using veneer and wood wastes, leftover scraps, just like cloth doll makers might use a dress out of leftover scraps. As time went on, however, some firms began to specialize exclusively in doll furniture, and by 1885, the Dictionary of Industry and Industrial Arts wrote this: a considerable doll furniture movement growing year after year. There are actual factories which produce by themselves or which commission thousands of home workers. Entire cargoes of wood are sent to Paris for these little furniture objects. The use of leftover materials has been completely abandoned. The production demands handwork and special materials. There were basically, I found in the things I've observed over the years, basically two types of furniture that we can find for our dolls today and that were being displayed. One were the pieces that were actually produced for dolls. They were not miniature models at all. They were doll production, and that beautiful gilt furniture set you're seeing in the middle is a very, very good example of that. And that has, for example, on its underside, the original label of Maison Giroux. Maison Giroux was one of the top luxury stores in Paris at the time. Anything in the decorative arts and home furnishings that was of the finest salon quality you could find there. And you could find doll furniture there as well, of which that extraordinary set comes from. In later years, and I don't see any of it here, but in later years, and we actually have some in this auction, some wonderful pieces, the styling of what I tend to call faux bamboo. It was a maple wood furniture with bamboo-style columns on it. Was a very, very high production, designed specifically for the doll market. And you find many of this furniture in the holiday or trends catalogs that would come out each year. You would find examples of furniture specifically made as doll furniture. And the other type of furniture was furniture that was not made specifically originally to be used as a doll piece of furniture. There are a couple of kinds. In America, we tended to call them salesman samples, and they were pieces that were made so as traveling salesman could go over the road and carry with him a miniature model of what he was selling, whether it was a piece of furniture or a stove or a washing machine. And these are quite cherished. Another piece found in America would be called the patent models. And these were models that were actually made to present to the U.S. Patent Office, showing a miniature version of what you were proposing to get a full-size patent for. But in France, they weren't called either of these, and they had a different purpose entirely. In France, they were called matrice model. And what this was it was an actual miniature piece of furniture that was made to present either to the master cabinet maker in the home or firm in which you wish to have a position, or to a jury who would then determine if you had the skills. The Compagnie de France was a designation that would be given to the top level cabinet makers. In order even to submit your work to a jury for acceptance, you had to have 6 years apprenticeship in order to show that you had the really fine cabinet making skills that would allow you to have this designation. And then you would make a miniature model, which they called the matrice model, of an example of your workmanship, and you would submit that to a jury, and then you might be awarded this designated label. And I submit that many of the pieces you're seeing here were actual matrice models of furniture. They're just wonderful examples of marquetry, of design, of exactly following the architectural designs of the original designers of that piece of furniture. The bronze work on some of them is extraordinary. The cut work on the more simple examples is extraordinary. The gilding on that set of furniture is fine, and then their little silk seats all have the hand-painted detail. You notice we've also included in here a pair of glass chandeliers and another hanging brass-framed chandelier with etched glass windows, because again, the making of a room for an arrangement, a miniature room, did not stop just at the furniture. It included everything that would go with that doll room, and that's why, for example, on one of the cabinet shelves standing up high, you're seeing a group of little miniature porcelain pieces that were on there. All of these things were essential to make the fine presentation of what a miniature world would be like. And before I finish this section, I just want to point out to you two of the dolls that are very noticeable here that I know some of you are wondering what they are. And the one in the front on the bottom with a little flowered hat is a signed Hooray, the porcelain doll with a signed Hooray. And she's very, very lovely. She has a wonderful original costume and her original little leather basket or purse and her hat, and she's just great. And then the girl standing up high in the middle in the purple ensemble with the bisque arms is by Radico and Cordonnier. And very interestingly, because when you try to tell the outside world about dolls and they don't understand them, you can say, well, look at this one, she's the first Barbie, because she was designed actually by a husband and wife who were involved in the theater more than they were doll making. And they wanted to design a doll that could be used to display the various theatrical costumes they were doing. She has bisque feet with holes in the bottom for posing on a wooden stand. So she was specifically designed that way, just as 100 and some years later a Barbie would be. So those are all very interesting pieces, and just look at the wide variety of types of furniture that could be found and the different scales and different sizes.